Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we like to blend casual conversations with some hopefully insightful discussions on all the latest in technology and gadgets. So today we're going to be taking a deep dive into a whole bunch of recent developments, especially in the smart home space.
I am so ready for this.
We've got some pretty juicy bits from TLDR, TLDR AI, and the Neuron.
All right,
So should we just dive right in?
let's do it.
All right, so first up, TLDR dropped some pretty exciting news about Apple. Apparently, they are rumored to be launching a wall-mounted smart home display, and it could be as early as March.
Whoa, a wall-mounted display. That's really interesting. It sounds like they're going for that central hub, something
Yeah.
that integrates seamlessly into the whole home environment.
Yeah, exactly. And TLDR describes it as this super sleek device, almost like a security panel. But it acts as the command center for your entire house. And get this, it might even have a version with a robotic arm.
What, a robotic arm? Now that is intriguing. What on earth could they be thinking? Maybe it's for interacting with smart home devices more physically. Imagine adjusting your thermostat or turning on a lamp, but with a robotic arm controlled by voice commands.
Okay, that's straight out of a sci-fi movie. I mean, it
Yeah.
makes you think about all the possibilities, but also all the potential challenges. I mean, do we really want robots just like roaming around our homes?
It's a valid concern for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the integration of AI into our physical spaces brings up all these big questions about privacy, security, and even just our comfort levels with technology in general.
Absolutely. And while Apple is kind of pushing the boundaries of AI in the home, there's another interesting trend that we need to unpack a little bit. TLDR also points out that AI adoption among U.S. workers seems to have plateaued.
Oh, really? That's surprising, especially considering all the potential benefits AI can bring to the workplace.
Right. And the Neuron actually did this huge survey of over 17,000 workers. And it turns out there are a few reasons for this plateau.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So first off, a lot of workers are actually hiding their AI use from their bosses. They're worried about job security or getting overloaded with even more work.
Yeah.
And then there's the lack of training. Like, people aren't really comfortable fully embracing all these AI tools just yet.
That makes sense. Change can be scary, especially when it comes to technology and the potential impact it might have on jobs. TLDR also mentioned that discomfort. Workers not wanting to tell their managers they're using AI. Maybe companies just need to be a bit more transparent about their own AI strategies and provide more support to employees as well.
Absolutely. And the Neuron had some great tips for navigating, those AI anxieties. They suggest breaking down tasks, using specific commands,
Yeah.
and even trying different languages to avoid some of those English-based triggers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's all about figuring out how to work effectively with AI, understanding what it's good at and also where its limitations are. It's a tool, and like any tool, you need to know how to use it correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Now, shifting gears a little bit, TLZR reported that Amazon is working on its own AI chips called Trainium 2 to try and reduce their dependence on NVIDIA. That could be a game changer.
Oh, definitely. What's really exciting about these chips is their potential for using less power, and that could lead to lower costs and wider accessibility. Imagine AI being more affordable and readily available for way more applications. That would be huge.
Yeah, it's like the democratization of AI. And speaking of big players, TLDR AI had an interesting tidbit about OpenAI. Greg Brockman is back as president after his sabbatical.
Really?
Yeah, this comes after some pretty major executive shakeups at OpenAI.
Huh. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, Brockman's return could signal a shift in OpenAI's direction or their overall strategy. It'll be interesting to see how this influences their future projects and really just the entire AI landscape.
Right. And speaking of future projects, get ready to be amazed.
Yeah.
TLDR AI reported on Oasis. It's a real-time, open-world video game, entirely generated by AI, no game engine required.
Whoa, that's incredible. A completely AI-generated world. I mean, that brings up some massive questions about the future of gaming and the very nature of creativity itself.
Right. It's mind-blowing. Imagine exploring a world that's constantly evolving and adapting, a world where the possibilities are practically limitless. Could this be the future of entertainment?
It's certainly a very tantalizing prospect, but we need to remember that AI, as incredibly powerful as it is, still has limitations. There are technical hurdles to overcome, like domain generalization, which basically means the AI needs to be able to create a world that's diverse and adaptable, a world that can handle anything a player throws at it.
So if I go off script in this AI-generated world, the whole illusion comes crashing down.
That's the challenge, yeah. The AI needs to improvise, to create content on the fly, and it all has to feel consistent with the rest of that world.
Okay.
And then there's the issue of long context consistency.
Okay, I'm all ears. What is long context consistency?
Oh, so imagine you're playing this game for hours. You're making decisions, forming relationships with characters, shaping the entire narrative. Well, the AI has to remember all of that, all those long chains of events, and make sure that everything that happens later in the game makes sense in light of what happened before.
So it's like the AI is playing a giant game of memory, keeping track of every tiny detail and making sure it all fits together.
Exactly. And not just remembering, but also understanding what all those events mean and how they might affect things that happen later on. It's a huge computational and creative challenge.
It makes my brain hurt just thinking about it. But it also raises some really interesting questions. Like, if AI can create these really complex and immersive worlds, what does that mean for the future of storytelling? Will human writers and game designers become obsolete?
That's a question a lot of people are asking these days. I don't think we're at the point where AI can just completely replace human creativity. But it is definitely changing the creative landscape. It's more likely that AI will become a really powerful tool for creators. It can help them build more expansive and engaging worlds.
It's more of a collaboration between humans and AI.
I think so, yeah.
Hmm.
AI can handle a lot of the heavy lifting, generating vast amounts of content. But it still needs that human touch to bring it all together, to create a truly compelling experience.
And that makes sense. It's like AI is the architect, building the foundation and the structure, but then the human is the interior designer, adding all the little details and personality to really make it feel like home.
I love that analogy. That's perfect. And speaking of homes, maybe we should bring our focus back to the more immediate future of AI and how it's affecting our lives right now. We were talking earlier about that plateau in AI adoption in the workplace.
Right. There seems to be this disconnect between the potential of AI and the reality of how it's actually being implemented.
Exactly. And the neuron pointed to a big factor in all this, the lack of transparency and communication surrounding AI. A lot of workers are hesitant to embrace AI because they don't fully get it. And they're afraid of what might happen to their jobs.
Right. It's like they see AI as this mysterious force that's going to take their jobs, and they don't know how to deal with it.
That fear is completely understandable, but it's usually based on misconceptions. We need to do a better job of educating people about AI, demystifying it, and showing them how it can be used to make their jobs better, not replace them altogether.
Yeah, more education, less fear-mongering.
Exactly. We should be focusing on the positive potential of AI, how it can create new opportunities, increase productivity, and maybe even make work a bit more enjoyable.
Okay, but what about those concerns about job displacement? I mean, AI is automating a lot of tasks that used to be done by humans. How do we address that?
It's a very complex issue. There's no simple solution. But I think a key part of the answer is focusing on retraining and upskilling the workforce. As AI takes over certain tasks, we need to be preparing people for the jobs of the future, the jobs that require human skills, like creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence.
So it's not about fighting against AI, but rather figuring out how to adapt to it and finding ways to work with it.
Precisely. AI isn't going away. It's here to stay. And the best way to handle this new landscape is to embrace the changes, learn new skills, and find ways to use AI to our advantage.
I love that. It's not humans versus machines. It's humans and machines working together to hopefully create a better future.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. It's been great. From those mind-bending AI-generated worlds to the very real challenges of integrating AI into our workplaces, it's been a fascinating dive.
It really has. And now, as we move into our final segment, let's take a quick look at a few other developments in the tech world. We'll be right back after a short break.
Sounds good. Yeah, those are big hurdles to clear.
Right, like domain
It's
generalization.
a mouthful, I know. Basically, it means the AI has to be able to handle anything a player tries to do, not just what's been programmed in advance.
Okay, so like if I go off the beaten path, try something unexpected, the AI has to keep up and create a believable experience on the fly.
Exactly. It has to be able to improvise, generate all this new content,
Yeah.
and make sure it fits in with the rest of the world.
That's got to be incredibly challenging. Is that even possible with where AI is at right now?
It's really pushing the boundaries. There are some promising approaches, but it's still pretty early days. And then on top of that, there's the issue of long context consistency. That's another big one.
Okay, break that one down for me. What is long context consistency?
Think of it like this. You're playing a game for hours, making decisions, building relationships with characters, influencing the story. The AI has to remember all of that, all those choices, all those events, and make sure that everything that happens later on makes sense, given what happened before.
So it's like the AI is playing this massive game of memory, keeping track of every little detail.
Exactly. And it's not just remembering, it's also understanding the significance of those events and how they could potentially impact future outcomes. It's a huge challenge.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot for an AI to juggle.
Yeah.
But it brings up these really interesting questions. I mean, if AI can create these complex worlds, what does that mean for storytelling as a whole? Are we going to see human writers and game designers become obsolete?
That's the million-dollar question right now. I don't think AI is at the point where it can completely replace human creativity, but it is definitely shaking things up. It's more likely that AI will become this really powerful tool for creators, something that can help them build even bigger, even more engaging worlds.
So more of a collaboration then.
Yeah, I think so. AI can handle a lot of the grunt work,
Yeah.
generating all that content, but you still need that human touch to really bring it all together and make it a truly special experience.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like the AI lays the groundwork,
Yeah.
builds the foundation, the basic structure, but then the human comes in and brings it to life, adds the details, the personality, the things that make it feel real.
That's a great way to put it. Speaking of bringing things back down to earth, maybe we should circle back to the AI in the workplace conversation.
Yeah, good point. We were talking about that plateau in adoption.
Right. It seems like there's this gap between the potential of AI and how it's actually being used in a lot of companies.
Exactly.
And the Neuron really highlighted this key issue, the lack of transparency and just general communication about AI. I think a lot of workers are hesitant to use it because they don't really understand it, and they're worried about their jobs.
It's like they see AI as this big, scary monster
Yeah.
that's coming to take their jobs.
Yeah, and that fear is totally understandable, but it's often based on these misconceptions. We need to educate people, show them how it works, and most importantly, show them that it can be used to make their jobs better.
Not to replace them.
Exactly.
So more education, less fear-mongering.
I like that, yeah. We need to highlight the positives, the new opportunities, the potential for better productivity, maybe even making work a little bit more enjoyable.
Okay, but what about the job displacement piece? I mean, AI is automating a lot of stuff. How do we address that?
It's a tough question. There isn't one easy answer. But I think a big part of the solution lies in retraining and upskilling workers. As AI takes over some of the more routine tasks, we need to help people prepare for the jobs of the future, the jobs that require those uniquely human skills, like creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence.
So it's not about fighting the robots. It's about learning how to work with them.
Exactly. AI is here to stay. The best way to approach it is to embrace the change, learn those new skills, and find ways to use AI to our advantage.
I love that. It's not humans versus machines. It's humans and machines working together to build something better.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've talked about those crazy AI-generated worlds and the real-world challenges of AI in the workplace.
It's been a really interesting conversation.
It has. So as we head into our final segment, let's take a quick look at a few other interesting developments in tech.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to Byte-Sized Tech. Before we wrap up, let's hit a few more quick stories from the world of tech and AI.
All right, so one that I thought was pretty interesting was the news about those European search engines, Ecosia and Quant. Remember them?
Yeah.
Well, TLDR AI is reporting that they're joining forces. They're going to build a European search index to challenge the dominance of U.S. big tech.
It's like a David and Goliath story.
Exactly, it is. And they're taking a privacy-first approach, which is really refreshing, especially with all the concerns about data privacy these days.
It's like they're saying, hey, there's a different way to do this.
Yeah.
A way that actually respects people's privacy.
Right. And the fact that they're really focusing on their AI capabilities, that just shows how crucial AI is becoming in the battle for online dominance.
It's like AI is the new weapon in the digital arms race.
It really is. AI is driving so much innovation in so many areas right now. And as it keeps evolving, we can expect to see even more big changes across all industries.
Speaking of big changes, TLDR had a little blurb about Bluesky, the decentralized social network. Apparently, they've added over 700,000 new users in just a week.
Wow, that's impressive.
Right.
And it looks like a lot of that growth is coming from people leaving Twitter, or X, I guess we should call it now, after all those controversial changes.
It's like this constant game of musical chairs. Everyone's jumping around, looking for the platforms that best suit their needs.
It really is. And as AI gets more integrated into social media, I think those decisions are only going to get more complicated.
Absolutely. Well, I think that about wraps up our whirlwind tour of tech news for today. We covered a lot. Smart homes, AI-powered games, the future of social media. It feels like we're living in the future, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's moving so fast.
But before we sign off, I want to thank all of you for joining us on Bite-Sized Tech. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of technology.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the things we discussed today. What are your predictions for the future of AI? Are you excited? Are you a little bit scared? Let us know.
Thanks for tuning in to Bite-Sized Tech. If you enjoy the show, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun discussions about all things tech.